happening overnight. Now back to Robert Mueller's testimony over the course of 7 hours yesterday. The special counsel who oversaw the federal investigation into Russian meddling answered lawmakers' questions on Capitol Hill, where he affirmed his report's key findings, insisted Russia will continue its disruptive efforts, and acknowledged a lack of cooperation, to say the least, from President Trump, disputing the near-daily assault on the probe. But while Mueller's testimony delivered his warnings through a different medium than his 2-volume report, it did not contain many surprises, and his cautious performance included him declining or deflecting questions 198 times, claiming he did not want to speculate, discuss internal deliberations, or was under orders not to answer. But while Mueller struggled through some of yesterday's questions, there were times when the hearings crystallized some problematic facts for the president and his allies.
Director Mueller, the president has repeatedly claimed that your report found there was no obstruction and that it completely and totally exonerated him. But that is not what your report said, is it?
Correct. It is not what the report said.
So the report did not conclude that he did not commit obstruction of justice. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And what about total exoneration? Did you actually totally exonerate the president?
No.
Now, in fact, your report expressly states that it does not exonerate the president.
It does.
Could you charge the president with a crime after he left office?
Yes.
You believe that you could charge the president of the United States with obstruction of justice after he left office?
Yes.
This just came out, WikiLeaks. I love WikiLeaks. Donald Trump, October 10th, 2016. This WikiLeaks stuff is unbelievable. It tells you the inner heart. You got to read it. Donald Trump, October 12th, 2016. This WikiLeaks is like a treasure trove. Donald Trump, October 31st, 2016. Boy, I love reading those WikiLeaks. Donald Trump, November 4th, 2016. Do any of those quotes disturb you, Mr. Director?
I'm not certain I would say.
How do you react to them?
It's probably problematic is an understatement in terms of what it displays in terms of giving some, I don't know, hope or some boost to what is and should be illegal activity.
Several individuals associated with the Trump campaign were also trying to make money during the campaign and transition. Is that correct?
That is true.
Paul Manafort was trying to make money or achieve debt forgiveness from a Russian oligarch?
Generally, that is accurate.
Michael Flynn was trying to make money from Turkey?
True.
Donald Trump was trying to make millions from a real estate deal in Moscow?
To the extent you're talking about the hotel in Moscow?
Yes.
Yes.
When your investigation looked into these matters, numerous Trump associates lied to your team, the grand jury, and to Congress?
Number of persons that we interviewed in our investigation, it turns out, did lie.
Mike Flynn lied?
He was convicted of lying, yes.
George Papadopoulos was convicted of lying?
True.
Paul Manafort was convicted of lying?
True.
Paul Manafort in fact, went so far as to encourage other people to lie?
That is accurate.
Manafort's deputy, Rick Gates, lied?
That is accurate.
Michael Cohen, the president's lawyer, was indicted for lying?
True.
He lied to stay on message with the president?
Allegedly by him.
And when Donald Trump called your investigation a witch hunt, that was also false, was it not?
I'd like to think so, yes.
Well, your investigation is not a witch hunt, is it?
It is not a witch hunt.
From your testimony today, I gather that you believe that knowingly accepting foreign assistance during a presidential campaign is an unethical thing to do.
And a crime.
And a crime.
And a crime. So, Willie, just wrote down some of these takeaways. This is what, again, let's frame this the way it is. The Republicans were celebrating the fact, and Rudy Giuliani was gleeful and sending text messages with emojis. And I just wrote this down, that the president was not exonerated for obstructing justice, that the president can be charged with a crime after he leaves office, that the president can be charged with obstruction of justice after he leaves office.
Good Lord.
That the president gave, quote, hope and a boost to illegal activity. That Paul Manafort tried to make money during the campaign from a Russian oligarch. That Michael Flynn tried to make money during the campaign from the autocratic government of Turkey. That Donald Trump tried to make money during the campaign from Moscow. That Donald Trump's NSA director lied and was indicted. That Donald Trump's campaign manager lied and was indicted. That Donald Trump's deputy campaign manager lied and was indicted. That the president's lawyer lied and was indicted. That the president's foreign policy expert lied and was not indicted. And as to the question of whether Robert Mueller believed that his investigation was a witch hunt, we don't have to take his word for it. We can take the word of 60% of Republicans who said in a poll 2 days ago that Robert Mueller ran a fair investigation. Now, listen, let me tell you, if that is a good day for the Republican Party in the age of Trump, I'd hate to see a bad day for him.
Well, we talked about yesterday going in, will Robert Mueller present anything new beyond what we already knew about this report? The answer was no, but as you have just laid out chapter and verse, the old stuff is damning enough. It was one thing to see it written in a 448-page report. Now you've heard it from the mouth of Bob Mueller. And Mike Barnicle, we've been talking about this yesterday and this morning. Robert Mueller was probably not, in terms of his performance, the witness that Democrats had hoped to have. They wanted him to come out there and make the case for them, perhaps, to start an impeachment inquiry. But, man, when you look at and step back what was in that report, what he just restated, that's almost enough right there.
Willie, I don't know what it says about us as a culture right now in this country, that after yesterday's hearing, after a man of exemplary character and integrity, Robert Mueller, testified to what he testified to, and Joe has given an absolutely accurate rundown of what he testified to, that we are now immersed in the cosmetics of yesterday, that he looked old, that he stumbled a few times, that he had difficulty finding the sources in the report that he and his people authored. And the bottom line, when you look at his testimony yesterday, in addition to everything that Joe laid out that you just referenced, is this.
Oh, my gosh.
The President of the United States dropped his duty. The President of the United States failed his oath of office. He failed to protect the people of the United States of America from a sworn enemy, Russia. In addition to failing to do that, he consorted with Russia. He and his people consorted with the Russians during a campaign for the presidency to subvert our electoral process. That's the bottom line of what happened.
Well, not only that, John Heilman, but they did it last election. It's still happening now. And Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump are doing everything they can to stop any legislation from passing that would protect us from Russian attacks. This is, of course, stupid and short-sighted, because what if the Chinese have enough of Donald Trump's trade wars, of his tariffs, and decide to do the same thing to Mitch McConnell in 2020? But we'll talk about that later. I wanted to pick up on something I heard you say yesterday afternoon.
Yeah.
And it is this, that speaking of how shallow many people in the news media are, and many people, obviously, who follow politics, it is remarkable that these facts were laid out yesterday and people were concerned about the optics. Almost as remarkable as it was that this report came out and was shaded by what the Attorney General did. It was the work of, let's say, what a mob boss's lawyer might do to try to shade some terrible facts. And the fact that we are here now, coming up on the end of July, and people's view of this report is still colored by what what William Barr did. What William Barr did is pretty incredible and pretty disturbing. The facts, as laid out, are damning enough to justify any impeachment inquiry, and well, actually would put anybody else not president of the United States in jail.
So I think that, you know, to Mike's point, there's a big cultural question about how it could be that this is the kind of thing we're focusing on, the optics and so on. I do think the Democrats framed this for us. They said this is going to be the movie, not the book. And if that's the promise, that's what they were trying to do, was make this thing come to life. That was placing a burden on Bob Mueller that he was clearly not prepared to meet. And he was not just within the four corners of the report, but I think Mike would concede, you know, this Bob Mueller is not the man he once was as a public performer. In all of those prior 89 appearances before the Congress, he did not turn out to be the star of the movie the Democrats wanted him to be. Let's just put it on them, because I think it's important, Joe. The reality is that everything that Mike just said, everything that you just said, everything that Bob Mueller said yesterday or affirmed in his staccato way in response to questions, particularly the very effective Adam Schiff, all those facts have been known now for months. They were all in the report. Mueller made the point when he did his May press conference. We've known them all. They've been on paper for all this time. We didn't learn anything yesterday. All we did was have all those things reinforced. So the question becomes, what happened between the release of the Mueller report and today? That if it's true that this is a damning, devastating report, and I think it is, and it lays out a series of things that meet the standard of high crimes and misdemeanors, what has happened to the Democrats who have the majority in the House of Representatives that have them sitting here in late July saying privately to everyone, and I will say that is what House Democrats are saying to everyone, every reporter they're talking to, which is the same thing Sean Hannity was saying last night on Fox News. Impeachment is dead. It's not going anywhere. That's what Democrats are saying privately. So how did that happen? And I think part of it has to be laid at the feet of Bill Barr, who engaged in an extraordinary act of ruthless, raw power when he took the report, lied about it, then withheld it for a period of time, then propagandized with the help of the president about what was in it, just lied over and over again about what was in this report, and helped set in stone a perception that has still not been dispelled broadly in the public, number one. And number two, Democrats, in the face of that behavior by Bill Barr, did nothing. Did not say this is a national emergency. The Attorney General is usurping his power and lying to the American people about what's in this report. Did not say at any point in these months, stop. It's all here. Let's go. Impeachment, an impeachment inquiry is justified now. Let's get it going today. Instead, they sat and said, Bob Mueller will be a savior. We will have this. Something will happen. We'll do a hearing. They've dithered and doddered for the last 5 months, and now we find ourselves here in July with a report that has damning and devastating evidence that definitely justifies an impeachment inquiry, and yet it is almost certainly not going to happen. And I think, as I said, it's partly about Bill Barr, but also partly about the failure of Democrats to fight back against Bill Barr in the moment when it was necessary.
As a former Republican who saw his party fight, sometimes savagely, it is shocking in the age of Trump to look at the Democratic Party and how inept they seem to be time and time again in taking the fight to Donald Trump or taking the fight to Mitch McConnell. You're right, John Heilman. It's been a remarkably bad misplaying by the Democratic Party.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.